Good morning, my name's Ray, I'm with Team S.T.E.A.M, and this morning I'm out behind Flash Industrial Painting because I'm getting ready to prep and sandblast a forklift that was built specifically for beekeepers. This is a late 70s model articulated forklift. Articulated because it pivots in the center like a lot of front end loaders, but it's actually a forklift. And at some point in the 70s, this company had been building small front end loaders, and for all I know they still do, but they decided to modify one of their smaller front end loader models to instead carry a forklift mast on the front. That way it could be used specifically for beekeepers. And what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to mask off with duct tape some of these things like cylinders and ID tags and things like that, things of a more sensitive nature, and I'm going to sandblast this thing basically inside and out. Now, I'm not doing anything with the roof section there because the guy that owns it has already prepped and painted it. I probably will end up removing it entirely just to get it out of the process. But I'm going to sandblast everything else. I've got things that I need to mask off or take off like this. And before I do any of that, I need to get down in here with a die grinder and cut all these welds and get rid of these extremely rotted plates. These plates were put here so you could scrape your feet off and get mud off before you get all the way into the piece of equipment. And there's some right here as well, but as you can see, over the years all they've done is just swell up and split out with rust. So I'm going to go ahead and get a die grinder and cut all of these out. There's probably one on the other side. There's at least another one of these on the other side. And while I'm busy sandblasting that forklift, I've also got another sandblasting job out here I'm working on today, and this is a dolly meant to hook to the back of a semi and transport utility poles. And this is a freshly built dolly. It's almost all brand new stuff, and they don't want me to paint it. They do their own painting. They just want me to sandblast it. So while I'm doing that forklift, I'm going to also sandblast this dolly and get that out of the way. Well, all right, we're burning daylight. Let's get to it. All right, the first sandblast job is done. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up my stuff, get the guy notified so he can come get it. He was kind of in a hurry to get it back. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the other one. So as you can see, there's no black paint anywhere left on this. This was most of it was black this morning. A lot of this dolly was new. A lot of it has just been new metal put over an old dolly. So some of it was rusty and some of it was new. And some of it had been used as a carrier for logs before, but as you can see, it's all been sandblasted and it's all ready for them to go ahead and coat, ready for its next life. All right, now I'm all cleaned up and I'm back out here and back at it again. I've got some tools out here. I've got a couple die grinders. I'll show you what I've got going on here. I've just got a die grinder here with a cutting blade on it, and I've got one out here with a burr on it. I haven't had to use it yet, but in a tight spot it'll work just great. And all I did was I took this one and cut all 8 of these welds on this first plate. And as you can see, there's nothing left of the plate. And what's left behind is very thick rust. I mean, at its peak here, this is almost a ½ inch thick. Now I'm going to knock all this rust out of here, grind down these welds, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. Cut all of these welds, get that off there, grind down the welds. I might wait till I get it in the shop and I'm all done sandblasting to grind down the welds. It doesn't have to be done at the moment. Here's that second one. Here's this one, which is the only one that was in its original looking shape. It didn't have a hole all the way through it. Got a lot of rust caked on the back, quite a bit of rust up underneath it. And here's the last one, which is just about the same as the first one. A lot of rust, again, almost a ½ inch thick of rust up underneath it. All right, I went back in the house and got my filthy clothes back on from earlier today because I'm finally ready to sandblast. As you can see, I've got heavy duct tape on all the cylinders, all those locations that matter. I went ahead and took the seat off, took that canopy off. It's right over there, sitting on top of a dolly. Took the air cleaner off, put a tarp over the engine, taped up the gauges, removed all that extra wiring from that light system that was recently installed, put tape over the top of the carburetor so there was 0 chance of any dust or anything getting in there. Took off the air cleaner, took off the battery box and battery. Now this guy is completely ready to sandblast. Might as well get to it. got that blasted. Now I'm going to put the battery in it, uncap the carburetor, hopefully get it running again, and then pull it in so it doesn't get rained on or anything tonight. So yesterday, as it turns out, was rife with sandblasting action, but this morning I'm going to go ahead and get started on the remaining steps to get this forklift in paint. Now I pulled this guy in here yesterday so it wouldn't get rained on or anything like that in the night, and before I shut it off, I went ahead and raised the forks up as high as they would go. This morning when I came out, I noticed that they had bled down just a little bit, and I didn't want that process to continue, so I went ahead and stuck a very tall board in there just to hold them up there in the air where they are. And the reason that I put them up as far as they would go is because I wanted to expose all the parts that I was unable to sandblast yesterday. And as you can see, this is sandblasted and that is not. And these are going to be a different color. These are going to be black. So the forklift would look very uniform while it's just sitting there. But the minute you go to load anything and lift it up, all of a sudden you have this Caterpillar orange or equipment orange poking out everywhere, which I didn't want. If the mask is going to be black, it's going to be black. So I went ahead and extended it up all the way. So today I can go ahead and mask off these rollers and prep all the remaining orange areas and get all of it put in black today. And I'm also going to paint the wheels in black today. And I'm also going to put the black where the stripe is going to go today. And I'm going to paint the battery box and the air cleaner housing today. All that stuff is going to be black. All right, so I've got everything sanded, everything prepped. I've got body work done here and right there and on the other side in those two spots as well, just to get some of that cancer out of there. So wherever I decide to put my stripes and design isn't going to run right through some cancerous region. And I've got everything blown off. Got the small black kind of external components, or ones that are going to be black, like the battery box and the air cleaner housing and the air cleaner tube. They're all here on these 3 ladders, all prepped, sanded, blown off, ready to go. So now it's time to go ahead and get some primer on. Got the primer on. I've given it plenty of time to cure out. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some black on. Well, as you saw, we got the black on it yesterday. It's the next day now. The first thing I'm going to do is lower this mast and get it masked up. Then I'm going to jack it up, pull the wheels off of it, and get them out of the room. And then I'm going to begin figuring out my design on this machine. I've got the initial vinyl laid out on the machine on both sides. Here's the other side. And this machine was built by the brand Swinger. So I'm gonna look up that brand and see if I can't get a good image of their little B logo so I can get something copied down that I can then transpose onto this machine. Now, from what I understand, this company went out of business in 2020, and I looked high and low online and couldn't find a crystal clear close-up image of their logo. So the best I could find is this fuzzy one, and I'm gonna do what I can with it. I found this picture of one that's at an auction house, and I zoomed it in as much as I could, and that's what I've come up with. And it's a pretty fuzzy picture, but I think I got the gist of it. And here's what it looks like all cut out. I didn't cut out the center parts because I want everything to line up. I want to be able to put it on there, trace it, and then of course just fill in the center parts with lines when I pull this off of there. And so here's the initial line work all laid out for the stripes, for the logo. For good measure, I put one on the back, down this side. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill everything in that needs to be filled in solid with paper tape. As you can see, I have all the areas filled in with tape that need to be. All the way around. All the stripes, all 3 Bs. And now I got all this masking done. Everything's completely masked up, ready to go. Now I'm going to move on to the next step. Now I have a big grinder to take off some of this stuff that I can get to easily. And I've got a small air-powered grinder so I can get into some of these tight spots and get some of these welds and other little defects cleaned up. All right, I got all the welds ground off in all the spots where they needed to be on both sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some body work going. Got it all body work, got it glazed in all the spots that needed it. Everything that needed it has been body filled and glazed. And now I got the body work all done. I'm on to the next step. And so now I'm going to sand down everything that hasn't been sanded yet, just to kind of get rid of that texture that metal gets when it's been sandblasted. It kind of feels like sandpaper. Get rid of all of that, and then I'll blow this all off, and then I'll go ahead and get it primed. All right, it's time. Let's get some primer on this guy. All right, it's all primed up, all cured out. Let's go ahead and get some paint on it. So here it is the next morning. Went ahead and got this shot yesterday. Now I'm going to go ahead and start unmasking and putting things back together. And I had the crew come by and give me a hand getting this canopy on here. It's all bolted down, the seat's on it now. Most of the things are on it, most of the things are done, but I do need to hook up all the wiring. Almost all of the main wiring I clipped and dropped down through the floor because it was just a big mess of wires. And then all of the wires for the canopy are all right up here. So I need to get all that loose, get all that restrung, get all of it rewired, and that'll be my next step. Now, before I mount the battery, this is what was under the battery when it showed up. This looks like a heavy tube liner for like a forklift or something like that. These are these heavy liners that keep the inner tube safe. And that's what was in it when it showed up underneath the battery. I'm gonna go ahead and chuck this. And what I've got is about an 1/8 inch thick mud flap. And I save all kinds of mud flaps whenever they come off a vehicle or a piece of equipment and the owner doesn't want them, I save them. And this is going to be great to put the battery on top of. So here's where the battery goes. Now I'll go ahead and set that there. That's going to work out really good, I think. And here I've got a whole roll of this grip tape. It feels like probably 80 grit on the one side, and it's got the adhesive on the back side. And I've cut one of them out and traced it on here. Now I'm getting ready to cut this other one out. And I'm going to place them where those old steel texturized mats were that I cut off of there and ground all the welds off. I'll just put this on there instead. It'll do the same job, only it's highly replaceable. Just like that. Now it's good and stuck on there, and anytime they want to replace it, they can peel it up and replace it, or just put another one over the top of it. Good to go. Okay, now all the main wires I went ahead and clipped and dropped down beneath there because I didn't want to paint them over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wire loom around them all. But before I do that, I want to string the last wires, which go to all these lights that the owner of this recently mounted up on top of here. There's 2 in the front, there's 2 in the back, and he ran the wires down the side, and then he just had this kind of tied off to this because he wasn't sure where to put it. I'm going to go ahead and drill a couple holes here and here, and then I'm going to mount this right here. Then I'm going to gather up all those wires, put them with those wires, and put them all in a wire loom. All right, this guy's completely done. All the wiring's done. All the details are done. It's completely ready to go. Let's go ahead and walk around it and have a look. Okay, this is a mid to late 70s model Swinger beehive forklift. And you saw when it was brought to me, it was 3 or 4 different colors, painted poorly literally every time. Now it's got all sorts of details. You can see we painted underneath the seat, masked everything off nicely so we don't have a bunch of paint on the engine. Even painted down in here. You can see the hydraulic tank, and I cleaned up the cap. I also cleaned up the fuel tank cap. Pulled the wheels, painted them entirely. Painted the hubs a different color. Painted the mast and painted it with it all the way up. So no matter how high he raises it, everything here is going to be black. Everything's nice and shiny. Masked off all the cylinders for sandblasting and for paint, so there'll be no damage to them. Got in, got all the details, and in all the tight spots. Starts and it runs well. As you can tell, I mounted his wiring harness, which was never mounted. This light switch. It's aftermarket and was never mounted. I put it on there. I wrapped up all the wires, got them all in there nice and tidy. Took out a couple wires that didn't go to anything, and got rid of them entirely. Reran his wires for the lights to the battery and put real ends on them, so they're hardwired in like they're supposed to be. And as you can see, they work all the way around. So everything's completely ready to go. I've already fired it up, moved the forks around a little bit. I know that everything works, and so when he gets here, he'll be able to hop in it and just take it and go. Put grip tape here instead of the kind of gripped steel that was there and all rotted out. Got a complete stripe job, as you can tell. This particular stripe job was never factory. I don't even know what was factory on these. I looked up some images of it and I couldn't come up with much at all. Got the little bees done. The stripe runs all the way across here. It doesn't run all the way around the back. I didn't want it to. It wouldn't have looked good against that grating right there. But we did get another little bee on the back. Turned out nice. Did all the body work, so you can't tell there was ever plates there that were rotted. Masked off the levers after painting them black. Did a bit of a two-tone on the air cleaner, and I did a bit of a two-tone on the battery box. The stripe job and the bee logo carry over onto the other side. There's 3 bees in total. So now this guy's going to be moving hives around in style for many, many years to come. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. That's going to help me grow this channel. And if you like videos like this, or truck auto body, or domestic auto body, or art, or gardening, or any of the things we do around here, you might as well go ahead and subscribe, because, you know, we always got something going on. We'll see you guys around.